Kia ora, g'day, welcome back once again, here with another reaction to Mr. Christian Craighead on the Shawn Ryan Show. So let's jump back in.
We want this armoured division. There's this strange mentality. We want the armoured division to mobilise and come at us. Mm-hmm. And so eventually the sponsor patrol gets here and we get extracted out. And then all the way back to headquarters, get there flight first. And obviously it's talk of the town because people are saying, "Oh, they've had close quarter engagement."
Yeah,
and it's all good. And we get ready to go in the next night. So it's like mission kind of failure because we got compromised. But they say we're happy to go in the next night to establish. And this time, the next night, we'd go in and put an observation post in. We'd still do the CTR, but then do the observation post. But the take.
So the CTR, for those that were wondering, I'm not sure if I've been doing this actually, but CTR, close target recce, and then the observation post. So I'm guessing most people probably know those, and then there's a whole bunch of other acronyms and stuff which I won't know what they are. But yeah, just hearing him, my ears just pricked up when he said the CTR, and the acknowledgement of a mission failure the night before. Compromised, did what they needed to do, did the business, got out of there, and then turn and burn, wheels up, roll again.
Takeaway point where it was like, so like preparation. The reactions that I did, and same as Paddy and Larry, they were critical because we kind of knew we were going to get into a fight. The odds are it was like almost certain, and everyone knew that. Brigade headquarters, everyone knew that. So we were keyed in to that. I often think if that had been a routine patrol and we'd stumbled across the enemy in such a way, would we have reacted? Would we have been so keyed up? And it's the good point is what I'm saying to anyone who carries a gun, whether it be law enforcement, military, or civilians. Do you think you're going to kill someone today? And they're like, a lot of the time, I'm saying no. I'm saying, why not? You're carrying a gun. Someone thinks that you're such a threat that you need to carry a gun, or you think you're a threat that you need to carry a gun. So you really should be thinking you're going to have to use lethal force today. Otherwise, why are you carrying it? To me, it seems illogical. But again, what's that around? It doesn't sound like a psychopath. It's like, have your head in the game.
Yeah.
Earlier to something I said earlier about seeing the signs, knowing, and like anyone who pulls a trigger with a surprised look on their face, it never usually ends well.
I love what he's sharing here. I'm going to try not to take too much time, but I hear where he's coming from. He makes a really good point, and that question could be pretty confronting for anybody. But if you're going to carry a weapon or a firearm or something to use in either defense of yourself or to, hopefully you're not going out looking to attack people, but there are stupid idiots out there that look to do that. But if you're going to be carrying a weapon, coming back to his point, have your head in the game. I like that mentality of what he's sharing here.
So it's that whole thing. You see it coming, you see the signs, you get prepared, you get your head in the game, and this could be taking place over milliseconds. Mm-hmm. But that's the good point of that.
That is a damn good point. That's a hell of a first engagement. Rifle malfunctions. Mm-hmm. You go up, you use a fragmentation grenade, and then you kill 5 people with a pistol. What is it like going home after that? What's it like going home after that?
Yeah, to me...
When did it register?
Oh, straight away, but for me, it was like, what happened? I went to sleep that night. Maybe we're going to circle back to this later on when we talk about faith, because there's something happened in between. But
what happened in between? Let's just do it.
So I go to the ops room. What happened is I had a close quarter engagement with the enemy. Things went wrong. I performed. It was kill or be killed. And I did my job. And it was all this thing, as we all know in the military, do you think you could really kill a man? Do you think you could do that? How do you think you do in combat? It came to me, close quarters, closer than probably the same distance that I am to you, was the engagement range. And it was high stress, high speed incident. And not only did I perform well, but Paddy, my TIC, and Larry all performed like bum, bum, bum. And it was a good feeling, great feeling. I was tested in the ultimate way, close quarter combat, and we won, and we live, and we fight another day. That's what it, to me, is a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to the brigade headquarters. The brigadier wants to update.
I agree. That's a definite good feeling based on what he's described there and what they've gone through. So stoked that him and his mates, Larry and Paddy, as well as himself, Chris, got through that. But that is, like Shawn said, that is a hell of a first engagement on operations. And I love that Shawn also acknowledged the great point that Christian made about, if you're going to carry a firearm, in America, law enforcement, military or civilian, have your head in the game. Have that situational awareness, have your head on a swivel, pretty much, your eyes open. Like if you're carrying a weapon because you're worried about potential threats out there, well then try to be as attuned to your environment as you can. Great comments.
Everything like that, and I'm talking to them, people are shaking my hands in, good job, things like that. And then see the Padre, who's a friend of mine. At this point, I don't feel any guilt. So I have no guilt about it at all. I don't feel, and I still to this day don't feel bad about it. It's like, again, it's a combat experience. And I see the Padre, and I look, and all of a sudden I feel this well of emotion inside me. When you do something bad at school, or when you're a child and you see your parents and you think, oh, and your bottom lip starts shaking or whatever. It was like that. And he kind of must have saw that. And he knew I was a man of faith. And he said to me, Chris, do you want to come take communion right now? And I went, yeah. So we went to made a makeshift sort of altar, if you like. And then he did took Holy Communion. And I'm there on my knees, and it felt like I had my eyes closed, praying, and it felt like someone had moved this halogen sort of light above me and turned it on, and I could feel this light and warmth going through me as I took communion. It was like I could feel it. It's like I could feel it, and not only could I feel it, it's like literal light. There was a light above me, even though my eyes were closed. It was like bright, as if someone had put a searchlight above me, and I could feel the heat off the light running through my body.
Wow.
And I open my eyes, and the Padre looks at me and says, "Did you feel that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I goes, "I thought it might just be me." He went, "No." He goes, sometimes there's moments when you are close to God, and we were close to God right now.
What did that feel like after he said that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a punkers that I think, but it enlightened me. It felt like I had laser focus. It felt like I felt clean, if that makes sense. I felt like I could breathe. Do you know a bit like if you've been on a spa day or something? It was like walking out of a spa day. And then I went to, this is where it maybe gets a bit lowbrow. I then did a report, went to where my team was sleeping, got in my sleeping bag, zipped it up, and as I was falling to sleep, it was like I was a little boy who just had the best Christmas present ever. Because, as I said earlier, I'd been tested in combat, and me, like my friends and I, had all been tested. We all won. We won.
It's cool hearing him be so open and speaking about this sort of stuff, and it's really interesting. At least for me, anyway. Maybe it was, yeah. It's interesting for me because I don't know a lot of operators who have a strong religious belief. I just, if they did have, they didn't make it obvious. Let's put it that way. And so it's cool and interesting to me to hear Christian speak about his faith and what he felt and what he was going through. And, those things there, I have no idea in terms of what he was feeling and those things that he's speaking to with regards to what he felt at that time. But it's cool that he felt clean, but even before then, I think he acknowledged he felt no guilt. The way him and his teammates responded and reacted to the situation, there was no murderous intent. They were going there. Their mission was to gather intelligence and collect information that they could hopefully then use to get a good understanding of who these people, or the Iraqi Defense Force, the armored division, numbers, routine, etc., that he spoke about. So they weren't there hunting for anybody. But obviously they're going to go on the offensive should they need to, should they feel threatened, which they did, and they acted, they performed, and not performed as in a performance. They performed their roles and their role as soldiers to eliminate the enemy should they need to. And it's going to bed where he says it gets a little bit lowbrow, zipped himself up. Sounds like he had a sound sleep, just pleased that him and his mates are out and that they conducted their jobs and themselves with integrity and honor, and able to look their teammates in the eye, their leaders in the eye, and know that, hey, we might have failed this mission, but this is the reasons why. This is how we reacted and responded, and we needed to get out of there because we don't know what we're walking into. We don't know if they're QRF, how many they have, etc., etc. We're a 3 or 6 man team, so a 6-man team that was split in half. So, yeah, awesome work.
We were put into the hornet's nest, face to face with the enemy, and we got out of there, and we did a good job. So I was like, yeah.
Was that the first time in your life that you had really felt that close to God?
Yes, it's one of
right there.
Yeah.
So 2 first experiences within 24 hours, probably within less than 24 hours, correct?
Well, within 4 hours.
Within 4 hours of each other, you had taken another man's life for the first time and felt the presence of God. Well, extremely close to you.
Extremely close. I think I felt the presence of God before that.
Do you think that's a coincidence?
No.
Why do you think that happened at that point in time?
I think it's all part of every time I move away from faith, I get pulled back in. So
that's interesting. And he's mentioned every time he's moved away from faith, gets pulled back in. I love Shawn's questions too in this round as well, and I really like what I'm hearing and seeing Christian speaking so freely and stuff about things too. So really cool to see and hear.
Let's take a break.
Yeah.
All right, Christian, we're back from the break. We had just kind of covered your first operational combat experience with the Iraq invasion. And so before we move on in your career, is there anything else that you would like to discuss when it comes to the Pathfinder stuff?
I think I'll just leave it at that.
You want to leave it at that?
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. With that, they're the stories.
Perfect. Well, let's move into the SAS.
Mm-hmm.
It took you 3 times to get in there.
Yeah.
When did you find out about the Special Air Service?
Just very quickly. Awesome. I didn't know that. Took him 3 times. Now I don't know if that's because of injury or whatever. Maybe he'll speak about it. But that, and I don't know whether it's because he withdrew on one, maybe got injured on a second one. Maybe he just failed 2 times, but never withdrew. Who knows? But there's an example of that relentless pursuit, unrelenting desire to want to serve. 3 times, ladies and gentlemen, and or for anybody watching, and or for those that have resided themselves to the thinking that they can't reapply. 3 times, this guy. And as I've shared in other videos, it's not uncommon for badged operators to fail their first attempt. to get in on the second or third or sometimes fourth attempt. Just another example.
I knew I found out quite young as a when I was quite young.
Okay.
As they still are today, they're within newspapers a lot. The Iranian embassy siege happened in 1980. I can't remember that. I would have been 4 years old, but that people say they remember it. I don't remember it. But I'd always heard them being mentioned, and it's still to this day is what people say. It's the magic dust of the country. Oh, they should just send the SAS in to go and get them, or to kill them, or to do this, or to. So that's what the working man is like saying, "Oh, just send the SAS in; they'll sort them out." So, and then the movie, as mentioned before, Who Dares Wins. I saw that when I was, I think it would have been 11 or 12 years old, which is still, you could argue, too young to see that movie, but I saw it, and in my mind, that's why I was like, I need to be in the SAS. When I joined the army, and when I was in training, and when I never mentioned about joining the SAS. I never openly said it to people.
I've got to pause that there. That's a really great point. I've never heard, well, obviously I haven't seen this interview before, but this is something that comes up. Maybe I'll do a Q&A on it, but this is something that has come up in some of the interviews that I've had with people, or meetings that I've had with people. Like, in my experience, the ones that yap away, they gob off about they're going to go join the SAS, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, this is why I joined the army, and they tell the world about it. I've never seen any of those people go through and pass selection. It's the ones that have it burning in here and just know that it's what they want to do, and they just go about their work in the background or day to day. They get up early, they go to bed late, they do their job as well as they can. This is from a soldiering perspective, because this is where I've seen some of those individuals and people that have made it through. And they try to not tell anybody and leave it for the absolute, last minute before anybody knows within their section, platoon, company, battalion, or unit, whichever unit they're from. And that doesn't always guarantee that they'll get through. But there's just something about the character, the demeanor, the communication, the attitude of the individual that keeps it to himself or keeps it to themselves, and then looks to let their actions do the talking rather than telling the world and broadcasting to everybody that that's why they're here. And then, that's my 2 cents on it anyway. So it's great to hear Christian just speak about that from his perspective.
Well, I want to do one thing at a time. I wanted to get in the parachute regiment first. Let's get in the parachute regiment first. And then, but in my heart, even when I went into the army recruiting office, and I wanted to, in my mind, I wanted to be in the SAS.
What is can you explain a little bit of the difference between SAS and SBS?
There's kind of no real difference.
Really?
They do the same. Well, there's no real difference. One is there's lots of different people will say, oh, what's he saying that for? The selection process is identical. So we do a joint selection.
Okay, so you're mixed in.
Yeah, so you do a joint selection, and that's and they're on paper they are the maritime tier 1 special forces element.
Okay,
so
there's not one up here and one. They're equivalent.
They're supposed to be the same. So.
Roger that.
I love that. You can see in here just through the body language, the facial expression, and then I know the camera went off Christian and went to Shawn, but you can see Shawn acknowledging Roger that. They're supposed to be the same, and it's that banter. You got some people out here on YouTube land that want to jump on everything and that think, oh yeah, they said that so and so is a lower tier or they're a tier below, and they just have no idea. And don't get me wrong, some of those operators, they may be legitimate, they may be serious in what it is that they're saying, but and they definitely trigger a whole bunch of corridor conversation comms. See, I told you fellas are lower tier than the others, and it just makes me laugh, man, because those people that jump on that bandwagon that have no idea, like They just have no idea other than what they read in books or watch in documentaries, or they take as gospel what they hear from their favorite SF operator or from their favorite operator who's served in their favorite unit, I should say, in regards to their country. So it's a pretty hard case, and it's good to see that play out here between an American and the UKSF, ex-SF operators, and that little niggle. You're still always going to try to one-up each other or the other unit. In this case, SAS and SBS being very, very close in terms of what they do, the work that they do. Close in terms of, not in terms of level, but close in terms of their relationship and the countries that they serve, or the country that they serve.
When it comes to the selection, are you recruited for SBS, SAS?
You volunteer to
do volunteer. Yeah. Do you volunteer for what are they? Do they both fall under an umbrella?
You can, if you're in the Army, apply to join the SBS, and if you're in the Navy or the Royal Marines, you can apply to join the SAS. Or RAF as well.
So this is basically Delta SEAL Team 6 equivalents.
Yeah,
if correct.
Mm-hmm.
SBS would be more the Team 6. Delta would be more the SAS.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
And you volunteer, so you put a request in through your unit. That goes to the recruitment cell, and then you have to do some courses, pre-courses to get on selection, and then you go on selection, and it's a 6-month process and then continuation training after you're badged into your unit. But the continuation training is then separated. So the guys who pass SAS selection do their continuation training in Hereford, and the SBS in Poole, and that's where they'll do their dive training and things.
Okay. So, do you guys do dive training? No, all air stuff.
It's just a mix.
No, okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. What are they looking? What do you think they're looking for when it comes to recruiting SAS guys?
I think
this is a great question, because this is something that comes up a lot in the conversations that I have. So going to be really cool to hear Christian's take. I imagine there'll be a lot of similarities in terms of what I share or have shared with individuals, and I think with what people have a reasonably enough good understanding of anyway, based on the information and content that's out there these days.
I think being blunt about it is, we want people who are physically capable, whatever that means, so robust and fit, really fit and really robust people. But more importantly, as selection continues, is you need to be able to assimilate information, and time is always precious. In theory, selection should be much longer, but we're sort of cramming a lot of stuff in and trying to test and evaluate. So we want people who can pick up, assimilate information quickly, get told something, put it into practice, and then do the next skill set. So and being able to work with other people is another key requirement. So that's kind of what they're looking for.
Is there a certain type of disposition, attitude, demeanor that they're looking for?
Not what they're looking for. I think people just fall into that category.
Man, it's so cool hearing this for the first time and hearing Christians speak about what they're looking for, because a lot of that stuff I might use different words or very, very similar words when I've been speaking with people, and whenever people ask me, those things come to mind a heck of a lot. And then I think people do overthink it a lot of the times. I need to try to develop and become this type of person, this type of perceived person that the SAS is looking for. Like, you just need to be you. You need to 100% be you, because once you go through selection and you're being stripped away of, the food, the sleep, the comforts of home or wherever you are, the friends, the encouragement, all of those things, when they're all stripped away, like, you're going to be left with who you are. So just be you, and they're not, do all these other things that Christian's just spoken about. Make sure that you're physically fit and ready to go, physically and mentally prepared, that you are resilient, that you can. I think I've shared this in other videos. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. There is a time, stress, and pressure where everything is condensed, and you need to be able to assimilate a heck of a lot of information as quick as you can, and then apply it. And if you can't do that within the same time frame as everybody else, well, then you're not going to be staying there. You're going to get the tap on the shoulder, go have a chat, and probably car keets, see you later. So love that he's addressed these points and the questions that Shawn's asked. Are they looking for a certain type? Like, they're looking for those elements that Christian has already identified. And then whether you're an extrovert, whether you're an introvert, whether you're a whatever-vert, as long as you're a good person and you can do all of those things and you've proven that and you can apply that and get on well within your teams, etc., then there's all sorts of people in there.
What is it like? Do they have interviews before you go to the selection?
They didn't when I was.
You just throw your name in the hat, get approved, and you're in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you do the course, yeah.
Interesting. What would you say the culture is like? What is it like when you show up for selection? Are they welcoming? Do they treat you like shit?
No, it's very quiet. It's just people. Again, we're on the borders of what I'm going to talk about and not talk about. But when you turn up selection, it's similar to joining the army again. Everyone's measuring everyone up.
Mm-hmm.
From the instructor point of view, they're not saying anything. They're not imposing anything. They don't need to.
Strictly evaluation. It's
just they're not like screaming, shouting, doing whatever. They're just they're part of they don't, like I said, the selection process. People know what they're getting into, but it's more of the, when 200 people or so, just short of 200 people turn up on day one, and you're looking around going, statistically about 6 to 12 people are going to graduate out of this.
So you get about a 5% chance of making.
And sometimes it's bigger courses, sometimes it's smaller, but like pass. But you're looking around and you're thinking, who's going to pass? Am I going to be one of these? Is there someone else? And you're weighing it up and just getting the measure of people, I suppose.
I'm going to pause this one here because it's nearly 30 minutes. But yeah, I can relate to all of those elements of sizing people up, and not really sizing people up. I think for me, I just looked at people and thought, far out, that person looks fit. Some of the guys that I went on with that I was lucky enough to serve alongside in 4 RAR Recce Platoon, I knew that they were fit and that they were extremely good soldiers. So for me, even though I knew that, because I had seen extremely fit and good soldiers quit before, I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to get my hopes up. And as it turned out, man, they blitzed it, they crushed it, and we were all there together, and it was awesome to get through that together. But I wasn't holding my breath. For me, I knew that I wanted to be there more than anything else. So it's cool hearing him speak about that environment and like the 5% sort of pass rates. Sometimes there's bigger cohorts that we'll get through. Other times there's smaller ones. I've heard of selections in NZ where there's been 2 people or 4, 2, 3 or 4 people that have completed selection, and then they go on to cycle. And then in Australia, I think I've heard I don't think I've ever heard that low, just because they have a bigger pool of people and applicants come through. But I know for mine in Australia, I think 27 of us finished. They took 19 of us on cycle, and we might have lost a couple during the cycle by the time we were badged at the end. So that's a pretty big number. And in NZ, there was about 30 to 40. I think it was closer to 40 odd in that selection in 98. And then 12 of us finished. You've seen the documentary that I put up on YouTube. So 12 of us finished, which is a large number. That's a huge pass rate. But as I look back at that selection and look at the men that were there that I was fortunate to be on selection with, I'm not surprised. Like, there's some hitters in that selection that just had a lot of experience and a lot of mana and a lot of physical and mental strength and ability. So we'll come back to this one here. We'll hear more about Christian, obviously, and and then it's interesting that he mentioned that he's on the borders of what he can or what he's willing to and not willing to talk about with regards to selection. So we'll see what it is that he does talk about. Appreciate your time if you made it this far, and for your comments, your support, particularly to those that are inspired by Christian, that have shared that, not necessarily because they're looking to join the military, but just because of what he's done and how he conducts himself. So there's some really nice comments in there around Christian himself. So appreciate that. Thank you very much for your input and sharing in here. Yeah, and we'll come back and do some more of it, but getting through it now, which is good. Anyway, appreciate you once again. As always, anybody going through any difficulties, hard times, challenges, heartache, heartbreak, encourage you, keep turning up, keep staying in the fight. Know that you're not alone. Know that the sun will shine again. Better days are closer than you think, and there is a light at the end of that long, dark, and lonely and miserable tunnel. So keep staying in it. Keep staying in the fight. Stay as consistent and as disciplined as you can. Just put one foot in front of the other and keep turning up. As always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.